Hello, and welcome back to the Love Soul Connection podcast. Today's episode is one that so many people secretly want to talk about, but they are not sure how. We are talking about sexual incompatibility. Yep, that uncomfortable, confusing, sometimes frustrating feeling of being in love with someone, enjoying their company, even sharing your life with them. But when it comes to the bedroom, something feels off. Not bad, just off. Maybe one of you wants sex more often than the other. Or maybe your idea of good sex is completely different from your partner's. Or maybe you've stopped enjoying it altogether but haven't said it out loud because what do you even say? And let me tell you this, you are not alone. In fact, I've had clients whisper this to me after months of coaching. They'll say, Meeta, I love my partner so much, but I don't feel sexually excited by them anymore. What's wrong with me? Or, I want more adventure, more connection, but I'm scared to say it. I don't want them to think I'm unhappy. And sometimes it's the other way around. Someone trying so hard to keep up with their partner's desires while quietly feeling resentful or inadequate. So, today we are going to talk about what sexual incompatibility really means, why it shows up even in the best relationships, and most importantly, what you can do about it. Not with blame, not with shame, but with curiosity, honesty, and a whole lot of compassion. And if this is something you've been going through quietly, whether you're married, dating, or somewhere in between, then I want you to take a deep breath and just stay with me. This episode is going to give you some answers, some clarity, and maybe even a little bit of hope. Ready? So let's dive in. So let's first get this out of the way. Sexual incompatibility doesn't mean something's wrong with you or your partner. It doesn't mean the relationship is doomed. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It simply means you experience and express desire differently. That's it. But the moment people hear sexual incompatibility, their minds go into panic mode. Oh my god, we are not a match. I must not be attractive. Or worse, is this the end? Let's slow it down. It's not just about mismatched libidos, though, yes, that is a big part of it for many couples. One person may want sex 3 4 times a week, and the other is like, can I just get my 8 hours of sleep first? But there's more. Sometimes it's about timing. One person is a morning quickie kind of soul, the other wants slow, sensual, nighttime connection. One is turned on by spontaneity and surprise. The other needs emotional safety and some foreplay before the foreplay. And then let's talk love languages in the bedroom. Maybe you express love through touch, and for you, physical closeness is intimacy. But your partner might express love through acts of service or words. So for them, doing the laundry or writing you a note is foreplay. And you are here thinking, okay, cool, thanks for the laundry, but can you please touch me? Another big one partner craves novelty. They want to explore, experiment, try new things. And the other craves familiarity. They love routine, the comfort of knowing what's coming. Neither is wrong, but if you're not talking about it, it becomes a silent gap. Oh, and let's not ignore the cultural and gendered expectations we've all grown up with. What we saw in movies, what we were taught or not taught about sex, what we think good sex is supposed to look like. For many women, there's guilt or shame around wanting more. For men, there's pressure to always perform. Let me tell you a quick story. A couple came to me after 5 years of marriage. On paper, everything perfect. They laughed together, traveled together, supported each other like best friends. But in the bedroom, always misfiring. She wanted emotional connection before physical intimacy. He wanted physical intimacy to feel emotionally connected. Neither of them was wrong. They just had different wiring, and no one had ever taught them how to talk about it. So, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh God, that sounds like us, take a breath. You're not alone. You're not failing. This is where the real work and the real magic can begin. Up next, we are going to talk about how these differences start showing up and what they can do to your sense of self, your confidence, and your connection if you don't address them. So let's go deeper. Okay, let's get real for a minute. If sexual incompatibility is so common, why aren't we talking about it? Why do so many couples just tiptoe around the topic, or worse, ignore it completely? One word: shame. There's this quiet, gnawing voice inside that says, I shouldn't feel this way. I should be happy with what I have. If I bring this up, they'll feel rejected. Or maybe it's just me. Let's take the example of a woman who's not feeling turned on. She's tired, she's overwhelmed, she feels disconnected. But instead of saying anything, she adjusts, nods along, smiles through it. Because that's what so many of us were taught: to adjust, to be low maintenance, to not ask for too much, to never say, this isn't working for me. And let's talk about the men too, because I've worked with so many who silently carry the weight of not feeling enough. For a man, being told that your partner isn't satisfied can feel like a hit to the ego. It's not just about sex, it's about identity. I'm not man enough. I'm failing. And so instead of talking, they withdraw or overcompensate or pretend like everything's fine. The result? Two people lying next to each other every night, feeling miles apart. No one's saying it out loud, but there's this quiet tension. The don't touch me moments, the fake yawns, the way one partner initiates less and the other starts to assume rejection before even trying. The bedroom becomes a space of quiet resentment instead of connection. And here's the thing: it doesn't have to be that way. This is exactly the kind of stuff we unpack gently in my coaching space, where you get to name these feelings without blame, without shame, without guilt. Because intimacy only thrives when we feel safe. Safe to ask. Safe to say, I want more. Safe to say, this isn't working for me, and I still love you. And sometimes we just need the language for it. Because once you start the conversation, you'll be surprised how much lighter it all feels. In the next segment, we'll talk about how sexual incompatibility actually shows up in relationships, how it chips away at the connection if left unspoken. Let's go. Alright, so we've talked about what sexual incompatibility can look like. Now let's talk about why it happens. Because in most cases, it's not that you are with the wrong person. It's that you're both evolving and the bedroom hasn't caught up yet. Let's start with this one: unexplored sexuality. So many of us never got a chance to really explore what turns us on. We were too busy being told what was too much, too soon, too shameful, too wild. We weren't taught to get curious. We were taught to stay silent. So sometimes when we say we are not compatible, what we are actually saying is, I don't really know what I want, and I'm not sure how to ask for it. This happens to both men and women. Now add to that past conditioning or even trauma. Maybe you grew up thinking sex was taboo or dirty. Maybe you had experiences that left you feeling unsafe or confused. That energy doesn't just disappear. It shows up in the way we touch, the way we don't touch, the way we brace ourselves in moments that should feel good. Then there's the physical layer: hormones, menopause, PCOS, erectile dysfunction, stress. It all plays a role. Your body changes, your drive shifts, but no one really teaches us how to adapt with grace, do they? And here's a big one: emotional disconnection. When things outside the bedroom feel off, like resentment, unspoken fights, or lack of appreciation, those things quietly sneak into the bedroom. The touches feel routine, the kisses lose intention. It's not about the act of sex anymore, it's about what's missing underneath. And finally, let's talk about expectations. Because let's be honest, so many of our ideas about sex come from porn, movies, or past partners. We compare, we expect fireworks, and when real life sex looks more like laughter, awkward moments, or slow mornings, we think something is wrong. We think maybe we are not meant to be. But here's something I often say to my clients: sometimes what we call incompatibility is just unfamiliarity with ourselves and with each other. When we don't know our own desires, when we don't speak them out loud, when we don't take time to learn our partner's changing needs, of course, it feels like we are not aligned. But that's not a dead end, that's a starting point. In the next segment, we are going to talk about what to do about all this, how to bridge this gap, rediscover desire, and reconnect without pressure or shame. Let's get into it. So let's take a breath here. Because when people come to me and say we are not sexually compatible, can we fix this? My answer is yes, but not in the way you think. You see, fixing sounds like a chore, doesn't it? Like there's a crack in the wall and we need to plaster it and move on. But sex and intimacy, they don't work like that. It's not about repair, it's about exploration, rediscovery, curiosity. It's like saying, let's stop chasing what should be and start exploring what could be. Maybe instead of expecting sex to be spontaneous and intense, you both need more playfulness, more laughter. Maybe instead of rushing to the act, you slow down and ask, what helps you feel desired? What is something new that we could try without pressure? And that leads us to the next piece: communication, but not the we need to talk kind. I mean the soft kind. The hey, I read this today and it made me think of us kind. Or what is something that turns you on that we've never tried? Or even, I don't know what I want yet, but I want to explore that with you. Communication without judgment opens so many doors. You stop blaming and start co creating a space where both of you can bring your full selves. And you know what helps? Shifting the focus from sexual performance to sensual connection. Let's forget about goals for a second. No pressure to reach a peak, no checklist to complete. What if we just focused on the build up, the anticipation, the eye contact, the way hands meet? What if intimacy was allowed to breathe? In fact, here are some gentle tools I often introduce in my coaching sessions. The first one is arousal mapping, a slow, curious exploration of what kinds of touch, timing, or sensations feel good to each partner. The second thing that you can try is fantasy journaling. Yes, write it down. Fantasies are like little windows into our inner world. When shared safely, they can be incredibly bonding. And the third is mutual discovery, creating space for both of you to learn, unlearn, and grow together without comparison or criticism. This is what I love guiding people through in my sessions. Not just the how to of sex, but the why, the when, and most importantly, the who are we now. Because people change, relationships evolve, and when couples learn to see each other as erotic beings again, intimacy becomes exciting again, not exhausting. So, yes, if you're feeling disconnected, it doesn't mean that it's broken. It might just mean you're ready for a new chapter, one you can write together. So, let's wrap this up with a few thoughts in the conclusion. So, if there's one thing I hope you take away from this episode, it's that sexual incompatibility isn't a full stop. It's not the end of the story. It's a comma, a pause that invites curiosity, courage, and connection. Yes, mismatched desires can feel confusing. Yes, it's awkward sometimes. Yes, it can sting when you feel like something so essential isn't flowing. But that doesn't mean it's broken. It just means that you're human. We change, we grow, our needs evolve, and sometimes what worked for us 5 years ago doesn't feel aligned anymore. And that's okay. What matters is whether you and your partner are willing to stay in the room together, to talk, to listen, to learn about each other again, not just sexually, but emotionally and sensually. Let's also normalize this conversation. You're not weird or broken if you've ever felt, I love them, but something's off in bed. I'm scared to say what I want. I don't even know what turns me on anymore. These aren't things to hide. They are places we can start from. And you don't have to figure it out all alone. This is exactly why I do what I do. In my coaching space, I hold room for these tender, tricky, vulnerable moments without judgment. You don't need to be ready. You don't need to have the right words. You just need to be open to the possibility that things can shift with a little guidance and a lot of compassion. So, if something from today's episode resonated with you, know that there is support available. Your relationship deserves not just survival, but joy, excitement, and intimate connection. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and never stop exploring yourself and your connection.